This scorpion finds himself trapped on a sandbar in the middle of a raging river, and the water is rising, and any minute he's going to drown, and there's nothing he can do to save himself. And suddenly this frog jumps out of the river onto the sandbar and says, "Hey, Mr. Scorpion, climb on my back and I'll swim you to safety." And the scorpion says, "Oh man, thanks for the thought, but I can't let you do it. You see, I'm a scorpion, and my nature is that I just sting anything that gets too close. So if I climb on your back, I'm sure to sting you, and I just can't let you take that chance." And the frog says, "Hey man, don't be so negative. I'm sure you can control yourself long enough to get to the other shore, and anyway, I'm willing to take the chance, and what have you got to lose?" And the scorpion says, "Okay man, thanks, I really appreciate this." And he climbs on the back of the frog, and they start swimming across the river. And halfway across the river, suddenly the scorpion stings the frog in the back, and he says, "Oh man, I told you I couldn't control myself. I'm so sorry, man." And the frog says, "That's okay. I was suicidal, and I just needed a way to kill myself. So it's not your fault. Don't blame yourself." And the scorpion says, "Wait a minute. I'm going to drown too." And the frog says, "So what? You were going to drown anyway." And they both drown. Okay, this satisfies my desire to have scorpion nature mean something, and does not and everybody have a coherent motive. It satisfies Eldritch Wizard's resentment at having the scorpion be just automatically the villain, which was revealed in your last video, Eldritch Wizard, because you're a Scorpio. And it satisfies Adventure Industries' idea that the frog knows that he's going to get stung, even though they both die. But it really doesn't solve any problems, does it? It's time to put scorpion nature to bed and move on to some other equally shaky metaphor for the predicament of humanity. Eldritch Wizard, you brought up so many other issues in your in your most recent reply to me that I'm not even going to try to get into them all, but they are interesting. I mean, talking about Hollywood and why Hollywood does what it does, and you know, what's a good story and what's not a good story. These are all topics for the future, but I just want to disengage from the scorpion nature at this point. Adventure Industries, I watched my own video to you yesterday, and you know, I realized looking at it after the fact that it seems sort of antagonistic or aggressive, and it wasn't really meant to be. It was meant to be funny, and unfortunately my delightful sense of humor is too deadpan for some, and too abrasive for others, and just not funny to most people, I'm sure. Anyway, so this is an automatic. This is a just in case apology, in case that it seemed like I was picking on you, and I actually wasn't. I was just I was just running away with the whole silly idea of the scorpion and the frog as something that we could finally work into a perfect tale, which is my agenda, not anybody else's. I start with these metaphors, and then I start drilling deeper and deeper, and quite often I just hit bedrock, not oil, or I guess these days I should say natural gas. Anyway, originally I was going to do a third Scorpion nature video, which wasn't the third one that I just did, and is is now being folded into this fourth one. And and the thing I just wanted to, the point of the third one for me was to try and drive home this idea that I didn't feel like the scorpion was the villain and the frog was the hero. They were just people. They were creatures with different characteristics. But more to the point, I wanted to bring up something that came up after my first Scorpion nature video, where I was talking about Julia Phillips, the Hollywood producer, as my prime example of the person who, for me, most beautifully illustrated the Scorpion nature. And I just wanted to emphasize that what I meant by that was when I read her autobiography, You'll Never Eat Lunch in This Town Again, I came out of it wanting to never meet her in life. But I didn't come out of it saying she's evil. I just saw her as a person that I wouldn't want to get stuck having to deal with. And I used this one incident that I remembered from the book, where some guy saved her bacon, and she, in her autobiography, seemingly without being aware of what she was doing, just insulted him again and again and again as she was telling the story of how grateful she was that he had saved her. To me, that's a perfect example of what I meant by Scorpion nature. It's just, it can be any number of things. It isn't the serial killer, and it isn't the villain and all that kind of thing. It's just the person with the unfortunate characteristic that they're not in control of. Anyway, but I also know that I have a really unreliable memory. Most people do, but I'm aware of having an unreliable memory, and I decided that I wanted to find that incident that I was recounting and see if it was how I remembered it. And so I used the Amazon Search Inside function to try and find it, and I failed to find it. But one of the side things that I discovered, which I felt like I really wanted to bring to everyone's attention, was I discovered what I had forgotten. Julia Phillips was an atheist. Not only an atheist, she was a third-generation atheist. And originally, when I thought about doing a third Scorpion nature video, I wanted to try to make some kind of point about what I thought her Scorpion nature had in common with some fairly common characteristics of atheists here on YouTube. But now I don't want to. It's too big an issue, and I'm too inarticulate about it. So I just leave it for anyone. I know that the vast majority of my subscribers are atheists now, and if you're at all interested in looking in something that might be a little bit of a mirror, and really pondering what you see there, I would recommend that you all go to Amazon, and I'll put the link up there to the Search Inside feature, and just read her little quotes on the search word atheist.